last part that I want to talk about is the ways that we can prepare our younger generation for the next Great Depression of the 2030s, okay? Now, this is something that we'll have to do individually, as families, as parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, okay? Because the younger generation, they're not gonna like understand. They're really not. They're not gonna understand, you know, the importance of, well, you know, it's not that important to have the new video game, okay? How do I put this? To help them prepare for the projected Great Depression of the 2030s, millennials will have to face a difficult economic environment in their prime of their careers, okay, in their lives. Some advice: learn to live below your means. Okay, a lot of us adults do that, so we can have and save for other things, right? The fact that we as a country continue to ignore this advice and go further into debt means that individuals must be even more diligent in saving for the future, okay? If you are bilingual, if you're not, learn a second language. My preference of learning a second language, I don't think enough people know how to speak ASL, American Sign Language. I feel that that is extremely important, okay? An increasingly interconnected global economy, being able to speak French, Spanish, Mandarin, American Sign Language will serve you well when job opportunities in the U.S. are limited, okay? The next thing is each household should have multiple and, if possible, diverse income streams, okay? Like I said before, it's going to be commonplace to have 2 and 3 families living in a single family household, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. This will enable the spread of unemployment risk, as you will likely be in a different industry than your wife or your brother-in-law or your son, or whatever the case may be, okay? Choose a career, if at all possible, okay, if this is applicable. Choose a career that's oriented towards opportunities, okay? Healthcare, education, technology fields. For example, you know, there will still be a demand for talent when many other industries are struggling, okay? Also, first responders, police, fire, EMT, okay, that type of thing. Go to trade, plumbing, electrical, things like that. Having a trade is more important, in my opinion, than a college education. That's just my opinion. Now, pay off as much of your debt as possible before 2030. Minimizing debt should always be a priority, but doing so before this Great Depression sets in, it will leave you with much less vulnerable during the crisis, if that makes sense. Young people, they need to heed the advice of our older generation, of our elders, okay? Let them learn from your mistakes. I think that's best. I think it's wise, okay? Because I feel that they will be more prepared to move through these deeply troubled waters, and some will even thrive because of it. So I hope that these 2 videos that I did for you were informative. I hope they helped. And I feel that this is going to be a very great conversation. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. You stay safe. You stay positive. You keep prepping. And as always, fear less. Ciao. Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Well, this is the second part to the new Great Depression, okay? And I hope you enjoyed the first part. I know it was a little long, but you know, when you speak of not just a historical event that happened almost 100 years ago, and then you're speaking about something that is coming, you know, not so far off in the distant future, you know what I mean? It's almost like, I don't want to say going down a rabbit hole. I don't want to say that. But there's so much to talk about that you can't like cram it into like a 10-minute video. You just can't do it. So, in this one, we're going to be talking about demographics and healthcare costs, stuff like that, okay? Now, with demographics, as soon as we approach the 2030, okay, an aging population is a global issue that is a strong reason for the upcoming Great Depression. Now, don't say, oh my God, it's because I'm getting old. No, listen, because I'm right there with you, okay? I may only be 46, okay? But by that time, you know what I mean? Add 8 years onto that, okay? You know what I mean? I'm going to be in my 50s, you know, so I'm going to be a part of that aging population, okay? So many major countries, especially like China, Germany, Russia, Japan, Canada, okay, are projected to have the highest percentages of population in the 40 to 64 age group. And that's like where I am. That's where a lot of you guys are too, okay? As well as the 65 up age group starting in 2030, okay? So when this all starts to begin, all of us will be in those age groups, okay? So we're all going to be lumped together in these age groups, okay? So the U.S. has not dodged a bullet with this at all, okay? And we also have an aging population, just like with every other country, okay? And this is bad news because us, the older generation, won't have as large of a younger base as in the past to support it by paying a larger share of taxes. Having fewer young people may also lead to significant labor problems heading into the 2030s, okay? Now, unless you're my age, okay, and you have kids that are in their 20s, okay, in their 30s, and they have kids of their own, you know what I'm saying? So now when it comes to healthcare costs, as we get older, it's not easy, okay? I know a lot of you, and I know I certainly do. I may only be 46, but I feel like I got the body of it. You know? I'm like, oh my God, with the stuff that I go through every day, right? With an aging population, the number of people needing and receiving Social Security benefits and health care, it increases. So, in fact, health care the expenditures are rising faster than the US GDP. In 2020, in 2020, there were 62 million Medicare recipients. 62 million. All right? And by 2030, it's expected there will be a staggering 80 million recipients. So this increase will put a lot of pressure on the U.S. government. But if you've been following along with the World Economic Forum and what their flipping plans are, okay? So along with the greater number of elderly people needing care, healthcare costs will continue to escalate, all right, with future inflation, right? The government will need more money to fund and support all of this, okay? So, meaning more or higher taxes, more borrowing, okay, both of which weigh heavily on economic growth. So, the next thing is entitlements. Now, one way to potentially mitigate the impact of the upcoming Great Depression would be by cutting Social Security benefits and raising taxes. Now, I know, but I'm sure you have heard the same stories that I've heard. By the time we reach age, there's not going to be Social Security, right? Well, they could cut Social Security benefits, raise the taxes, or by curtailing other popular entitlement programs, okay? And I hate that word, entitlement. I flippin' hate it. But any politician that proposed this would be heavily booed, ran off the stage, and, chased into hiding, They'd be laughed at and everything else, right? But looking towards the future, there just isn't enough. There's not going to be enough fundings for programs like Social Security, Medicare, prescription drug assistance. And unfortunately, Social Security the trustees see no new tax solutions that can rescue or, anything or underfunded Social Security program. So, as it's too late. It's too late to make a substantial difference. It really truly is. So, if the millions of Americans who need those checks were to see their Social Security benefits cut, it will become common to see the elderly move back in with their families and make hard spending choices. The other day, I spoke about how my father was talking about how it's going to be commonplace occurrence that you're going to have 2 and 3 families living in a one-family household. Okay? This is going to be the new normal. And you know what? I'm all for it. I love having my son and his soon-to-be wife here and our grandchildren. And, I love it. It's a full house. I love it. I love it. Now, for some people, they're going to be like, I'm sorry, but I need my peace and quiet. I don't. I love it. So, now, with inflation. Inflation is on everyone's mind right now, let's be honest, right? And we are currently experiencing a surge in inflation that has been frustrating for so many of us. Now, while some are convinced that the inflation will continue to rise, inflation will peak and disinflation could be coming. We don't know. It's a possibility, okay? Anything is possible. We just don't know, right? And as we saw that Rona changed the world as we knew it, okay? We now have new normals and right? The economic shutdowns had their own impact and supply chains were disrupted beyond belief. And the government poured trillions of dollars into the economy by way of stimulus checks. But it only hurt the economy. And supply chain issues finally started to become more manageable, if you could say that. But the federal deficit spending will become like a trend of the 2020s, with decline in the value of the US dollar a likely consequence. Matter of fact, it is a consequence. When the US dollar is weakened, you experience higher inflation. Okay? So, now on to US national debt. The current US national debt is way above 30 trillion. Okay? And the less debt a country has, the better it will be positioned for the upcoming Great Depression. Okay? Now, leading up to 2030, it is projected that no changes in political power that would have like any kind of a large impact. Okay? It's like it doesn't matter who's in office. This is going to happen anyway. Right on? So, we could try and fix the debt issues. Don't matter. Okay? In fact, neither party is solely to blame for this debt, and neither party is going to fix it. Okay? Now, remember, the upcoming Great Depression will be a global issue. Okay? It will be. No one knows if it will start in the US and expand outward, or if it will start thousands of miles away, right? Like the US and other nations like China, European nations, Mexico, Canada, okay, we're all going to face issues, all of us. And Japan is the nation that they have the highest government debt as a percentage of GDP, and with many other nations is in for a world of hurt. So when, going back to the original Great Depression, people have been able to identify the trends, right? That let me reword that, because of the original Great Depression, it has been easier to identify the trends that will lead up to the new Great Depression that's supposed to start in the 2030s. Okay, if that makes any sense. And that's the only way I can say it. That would make sense.